couple of minutes till people come in and let's chop it up tonight. I know I've been off of the YouTube blocker. I know I've been off the YouTube block for about a week or so because, as you all some know, I'm raising my grands and I'm running around and I have different things and medical appointments and what have you. But I've been checking out what's been going on in the YouTube streets. Mm-hmm. Certainly have. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Tam behind the mic is live. Okay. Let's see who's gonna come on in and let's chop it up about Diddy. I think I had mentioned before I am a hip hop survivor. Um, and it really catapulted my career in crossing over for commercial success. But I'm definitely one of the trailblazers and one of the pioneers before the commercial success, and I started out in Queens. And because I was there, even though I was young, people think that I don't have the history, or they just want to go with this plain old narrative. And being a child SA survivor, as well as an adult survivor, and being kind of put in a position where as they would love for me to be silent, but I can't be silent because too many people have been harmed, children as well as adults, and they have been deceived in fraudulent activities, just like with this particular Diddy case in Rico. And I really believe if they really search and go back, they would find that similar patterns, maybe not such a high of a degree because a lot of the pioneers didn't have money. And when they did generate some kind of commercial success, they all got strung, a lot of them got strung out on drugs. But we're talking about the Texas and the Pretty, activities. And now I was looking on Facebook and someone had posted about how they used to send for their now wife to travel on an airplane to see them when they were dating. But they were dating far before then. And like I had to interject and say, that's a whole different thing because there was no deception in that matter. And I got a little peeved because as a survivor and have undergone and know the impact that it had on me, as well as one of my daughters that's now deceased, it's a big thing. It really is. And then people just go on like with the business of life, like, okay, it happened. We all could have got locked up. Yeah, because what they practice and what they created in this culture is disgraceful, dishonoring, and fraudulent and demeaning. And they're also continuing on with all of these false narratives. One, that hip hop all started up in the Bronx. That's not true. I was in Queens, yes, but I did make it to the outer boroughs as well. And I've been doing my own investigation of people that I know that were out and about during that era. And as I unload and upload and get my channel really to where I want it to be, that I can enroll in Streamline and then I'll have different guests because no one's being too vocal about the thing with Africa Bambaataa and with the youngsters. And it's a shame how people are being silenced. And this continues to permeate within our community And everyone is considering, oh, that's how it is and that's the culture. No, that's not how it should be. No one should have to sell their souls or be demeaned or being tricked into doing things and supposedly with the ulterior motive that is negative. For survivors, I can tell you firsthand that post traumatic stress disorder, and it just doesn't go away. I've spent decades in therapy, and I would not care if I don't get not one reward, because anything that I'm entitled to have, I'm going to get. And because I've always been a very assertive and very creative with this situation and music in general, and especially what they considered to be hip hop, which no one ever really, after the 80s, no one really gave a damn about a lot of the elements, to be true. You didn't see a lot of the B girls and the B boys, because that went on in the earlier part, in the mid part of the 70s. And I know from being raised in St. Albans, Queens, and Hollis, Queens, but starting out rapping and MCing in South Jamaica, Queens, in the parks, the demographics, the landscape differs for different boroughs. Same thing with Brooklyn. And yeah, so I just lost my chain of thought. And sometimes I do that because I've had a long day, and I'm preparing. One of my daughters is graduating with her master's this weekend. So I've been, preparing and trying to get everything in order, and then going to my various different doctor's appointments, as well as the one of my granddaughters, she had doctor's appointments and stuff. So um yeah, but what I wanted to say, in anticipating you know um the Diddy trial and the verdict. And a lot of people I've seen, like in the feed on Facebook, saying, oh, those girls know they wanted it and this and that and the other. And that's not necessarily true. That really isn't. And then they ask about, why did they return? Because usually when people are preyed upon, that monster don't show their true colors when they first start out. They just kind of reel you in, they manipulate, and things of that sort. But I'm with the team survivors. I really am, in the team victim. And I hope and pray that Diddy gets everything that's coming to him. And now more things is coming out. And it's a shame that a lot of this stuff goes on within the Black and Latinos communities, even before the musical genre of hip hop, or even in film. They got something about Tyler Perry. You know, this is awful. Another factor I wanted to bring out too, that a lot of folks are saying that these guys, a lot of them are married, and the ones that are not, just because they like women, they don't necessarily figure out or think or address themselves as being gay. I found that out firsthand experience in the 80s when I was in college pursuing a paralegal degree. Something like that happened with me. Where a guy, thought that he said that he didn't think that he was gay because he still liked girls, even though I asked him a couple of times, because I caught a little bit of the zestiness. And I was like, wait a minute, is he switching more than me? And then being around all of these guys. So now I even look at like those old heads that are always around, and they want to ostracize the females. They don't really want them around, but maybe they have them around just to kind of throw the scent off. But in other cases, you see a whole mob. And I'll go into details in some other particulars, probably later on. But I just wanted to jump in and tap in and see what's going on and what everybody else's take is too on this particular matter. How you're feeling about the Diddy trial, and do you think that it's going to make any difference? And then now here you got Fat Joe. Fat Joe was defending the hip hop museum and the Africa Bambaataa and the Zulus and things like that. Like, my personal opinion about it is that a lot of the females, they knew what was going on. There's no way in hell you was part of it. A lot of people have been in complicit just for success and to get a name and to be acknowledged and recognized, and not even caring about the moral dissension that and the damage that it does to victims and survivors psychologically. It's like they don't freaking really care. It's just, okay, I want to be acknowledged as first, and this and that and the other. And whoever doesn't speak on upon it, oh, they'll get acknowledged. Me, I could care less, because I believe in saving the babies and I believe in saving the people, saving the men and the women, because enough is enough. Now, Christian, which is not surprising, because, they're saying that he was interacting with his father, with certain things and activities, if you know what I mean. Read in between the line, because I know Facebook has these strikes that they don't want to necessarily have you speaking in certain terminologies. And I know of people that, have heard, that have done that with their children, and it's been to their detriment. I think that a lot of laws should change, and the whole entire gamut, because that's not cool. And, if it's not consensual, and it's being drug induced, and it's being manipulated, and it's being coerced, and it's fraud, that's a no-go. That's a no-go. And a lot of people were in complicit with this Diddy thing. I never liked Diddy, even when he came out, when they had that show, that big, supposed to be a tribute, I think, to AIDS, that the nobody never received the money, and all of those people got trampled on, and they were unalived. And my boy DMC, Run DMC, they was involved in that too. I thought that that was going to be the downfall of what came to be as hip hop, but it didn't. There's a lot of power, control, and greed. And also, I wanted to also interject and say what you think about Eric Adams. Now, Eric Adams is running for re-election, and I will never vote for him. He was Brooklyn Borough president when my daughter, transitioned, and he didn't do much for my family in easing a lot of the particulars, even with one of his commissioners. I think that he's full of crap. And what happened to his allegations in his case? They swept that under the rug. Do you think that Eric Adams will be taking away the key to the city from Fat Joe? Who thinks so? Do you think the keys should be removed? I think that he should stop issuing keys out, because there's a lot of people that have been in complicit. And I believe that it started all from the foundation, when the older cats started preying on the preteens like myself, that were already rapping and emceeing in the parks, and there was already block parties, and far as like a back to school, like every area practically did that. So I'm like, when they talk about Herc, that's just like, what? What about Disco King Mario? I remember going up to the Bronx in 78, and that's how I played on Mario's set. And he was from the South. And a lot of people took a lot of what he did and they ran with it like they constantly do. So, write in the chat, and I'm going to pop off. I just wanted to come in and check in, and let's wait and see what the jury's going to decide in the Diddy trial. But I really believe that the governments, the feds, have proven their RICO, and I'm sure that a lot of other people are going to be exposed. Cat Williams said this is going to be the year of exposure, and I really believe that. I really wish that the guys that I wind up being entangled with, I wish that there were more survivors and victims that will stand up and come forth. I really do, because this is just not only the beginning. It happened a long time ago. And again, I'm one of those pioneers that came before Sweet Tea, before Salt and Pepper, a lot of them. I started in 1976. And they have Bronx starting a little later. They say Herc started in 73. Well, we had DJs and we had bands and we had different bring your own bottle events in Queens as well as Brooklyn. And like I said, I look forward to uploading and interviewing quite a few people that I have been able to retrieve and that were part of the Brooklyn DJs and Bronx female MCs. And I keep sharing with people. They don't like the idea. They like want to force me, but it was us rebel kids, the kids that was mobbing the streets. Some kids were jostling and stuff like that. That wasn't my forte. But, you know, there was a whole different culture and an environment that children utilize rhythm, just like our ancestors did, in blues and different rhythms. That's different energy and codes and vibrations. And I really believe that's why the music is out of control now, because of the subliminal messages that is sent, to, our people. And I think that it has been a very disparaging type of thing. And I'm just not with the go along, get along. And I stand on 4 points of the square. Even without Layla Wills, I want to say my prayers out for speedy recovery and healing, because Layla Wills, she really cracked that case. Her and Star from Star Chamber, but she spent a lot of time and her own money on that Africa Bambaataa case. And everyone that is not even part of hip hop knew about what was going on. And I really believe that it's time for a change. And at that, I'm going to jump on off of this and I'm going to finish putting my stuff together, because I'll be traveling out of town. And peace, blessings, and light. And I'll be chopping it up sometime soon. I don't know. I'm trying to close this up. Yes.